YouTube? It's your boy JXMPMEECH back with another fucking video, man. Today we got YouTube Darkest Videos 8. It's a Nick Crowley banger. We gotta see what rabbit holes we got into in the YouTube's. Let's get into it. Flash warning, flash images soon. Wait, whoa. The following scenes video contains scenes that may be upsetting and distressing for some. Viewer discretion is advised. What the fuck? Oh, hell nah. Oh, hell nah. Whoa. The fuck? Oh! Oh!
The residents of Anagawa, Japan.
Oh!
Earthquakes were nothing.
What the fuck?
But this one.
Earthquakes and this shit?
Different.
Video a little bit quiet. Oh wait, hold on, my fault. It's probably my OBS. Hold on, you should be able to hear it now. Cause I ain't want it too loud. You should be able to hear it now.
It carried with it a violence that none of the locals had ever felt before. And by the time the shaking had stopped, everyone in the city seemed to be left in a momentary state of shock.
Video good?
This was especially true for the nearly 160 Chinese workers and students that had recently moved to the area, with most having never experienced any earthquake, let alone one of this magnitude. Of these workers were a tight-knit group of 20 women who had recently been hired as trainees at a company called Sato Susan, a company that sold fresh seafood. And having been at work at the time of the quake, they frantically ran out of the building and stood in the street, desperately trying to figure out what to do next, unaware of the fact that the real horrors were still yet to come.
What?
In Japan, it's not just the earthquakes you have to worry about, but the tsunamis that often follow. And usually, the bigger the earthquake, the bigger the wave. And given that Anagawa was right on the sea and Sato Susan was directly on the shoreline, these women were now standing directly in the path of an impending disaster. Thankfully, their boss, Mitsudo Sato, was well aware of what was to come, and quickly he yelled to the women to seek higher ground. But given their unfamiliarity with the area, Sato knew that he would have to be the one to lead them there. The group readily listened, and they quickly followed Sato as he led them up a set of stairs on a nearby hill, where they eventually reached a shrine that overlooked Anagawa and the sea. It was the highest point in the area, and should keep them safe from what would likely be a massive influx of water. And sure enough, as they neared the top, Sato's fears were already coming true. As the sea had drastically retreated, it was now beginning to push forward. And things were only going to get worse from here. But despite understanding this, it wasn't a deterrent for Sato, as once he deemed the altitude safe enough for this group of women, he then turned around and began to walk back down the hill towards the slowly flooding city. The girls yelled.
You walked back into the city? Are you crazy?
At him, asking where he was going, which is when he revealed that down below in his home in Anagawa were his wife and his daughter, who were now directly in the path of this unfolding disaster, and he was going to save them. The girls screamed out to him, begging him not to go, as things had already become incredibly dangerous, but he didn't so much as turn his head as he stepped down onto the street and disappeared from their view. And it was at this time that one of those girls standing high atop the hill began to record.
What? Oh, that's crazy. What the fuck?
All my life, family has been super important to me. I love my family, but I also realize I don't know much about them, at least outside of my immediate family members, and specifically my grandfather, who I never got the chance to meet. And when thinking about this the other day, I went down a rabbit hole of trying to find out more information about my ancestors, and in doing so, I ended up partnering with my heritage.
W-ads. We don't fuck with ads over here, my nigga. W-ads, Nick Crowley. We don't fuck with the ads, gang. Alright, bet. Like, we're here. Oh, ads, bro. My bad, bro. We fuck with Nick Crowley over here, but we don't fuck with the ads, bro. I'm not gonna lie. We ain't here for ads, my nigga. We here to get straight to the point.
The footage shows that the shoreline was no more, as the water had inundated the entire area as it slowly crept its way deeper and deeper into the city streets.
Look at the water, what the fuck?
The women were understandably in a panic, trying to make sense of this ordeal that they were now given a front row seat to. And as they record, we can hear them desperately calling out for Sato. But at no point do we see him. We just know that he's down there, somewhere.
Bro,
And as the
Sato, you
desperation in their
crazy,
pleas
gang.
increases, so too does the fury of the water.
Yo! 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 It's a good part there. Yo! What the hell?
They could only watch as Anagawa as they knew it was completely eviscerated.
Nah, bro. He probably gone, bro. He is probably gone, bro. He probably got washed away again. He fish food. Damn. It ain't funny though, but damn. Damn. Look at that shit. Damn. Yo, that's track. Yo, that's a crib. That's a fucking roof.
And by this point, they realized that there was now essentially no hope for Sato.
That's a whole roof.
It was at this time that the women realized that despite already being at a considerable height, it still might
Somebody
not be
got cooked
enough.
in that
And so they
shit.
ran even higher up the hill, desperately trying to get out of the path of this water.
Yeah, got the path. You standing there recording on their phone. I got your phone, getting it. You know what I'm saying?
And as they did so, they noticed something down below.
Whoa, what? Is he Sato? Oh, what are you doing? Sato!
Standing on a rooftop in the middle of this massive tsunami
He said, what aura?
was Mitsudo Sato. The building that he stood on was once a full 2 stories off the ground, but was now just a few inches above the surface of the water.
What? Bro! Rip to your kids! Rip to your wife, bro! Get out of... Bro, you gotta get to safety, bro. Rip to your kids. Rip to your wife, bro. It's over with. They said that building is 2 stories high, bro. A few inches of the bottom. That's how high the water is, bro. Right from the roof is a few inches down, bro. You cooked.
The women again call out to him, this time even more frantically. But at this point, it was no use. And when the camera is taken off Sato for just a split second, we can hear just from the women's reaction, the exact moment that he swept away.
Oh, in with the camera. Oh, he probably got hit by a wave. He
The
probably got hit by
recording
a
stops shortly
second
after,
wave.
and restarts minutes later, revealing that the streets where the women had been standing just moments before were now fully underwater, and the buildings that once stood around them were now reduced to nothingness. In front of them was a sea of death, and had Mitsudo Sato not led them up that hill, then all of these women would have certainly been a part of it.
Yo. Rip Sato, bro. He said those girls who recorded that shit. He should have stayed, bro. He should have stayed, bro. He should have
The
stayed. He
date
would have
was
been
March
alive,
11th,
bro.
2011, a day where Japan had been hit by its most devastating earthquake ever, with it
Damn.
ringing in at a magnitude 9.0, which in turn caused the nation's worst ever tsunami,
Oh,
as that
shit.
day, 19,759 people would lose their lives.
19,000? Rip Sato, bro. Rip Sato, my nigga. Damn, 19,000?
With Mitsudo Sato being one of them. But against all odds, his wife and daughter were not part of that death toll, as it's been reported that they were later found alive and unharmed.
His wife and daughter's alive. What? So he went there for nothing? Oh. Oh, that's crazy.
The devastation that occurred that day is incomprehensible, and all
That's
the footage of this
crazy.
disaster could warrant a place in this video, especially the footage of Anagawa, as you can see what it looked like before, during,
Bro risked his life for his wife and daughter the whole time. His wife and daughter not even at the spot. Oh. They're not even at the place Sato went, bro. was in a whole nother safe spot. Oh, that's crazy. Rip Sato, bro. Rip.
And after.
Damn.
But what I found so interesting about this was all throughout this disaster were stories like Sato's, a man who risked his life to save 20 women that he hardly knew, and a man who gave his life trying to save his family, walking directly into the path of the worst natural disaster in modern Japanese history, all in an attempt to save the ones that he loved. And I honestly find it quite beautiful that afterwards, these women adamantly shared his story and made sure that the world forever remembered Misuro Sato as the hero that he was.
That's a W.
And of those 160 Chinese migrants who worked in the area,
Undercover
it was later reported that not a single one of them perished, which speaks volumes about the people of Anagawa, who so readily put others' lives before their own.
Man, that's a W, man.
Fire marshal is investigating.
I didn't even know that.
In Georgetown.
What's this?
2 people found dead inside the home, and so far it's
Man in the garage.
how the fire started.
It was just past 5:30 a.m. on the 17th of February 2021 when residents of a small neighborhood in Georgetown, Ontario were woken by the sound of sirens blaring. One man frantically grabbed his cell phone and rushed outside to record the unfolding scene, where he was met with a horrific sight. His neighbor's home was fully engulfed in flames.
Oh shit.
It must have happened quickly, as by the time rescue workers even arrived on the scene, there was already little hope of saving the house or any of its occupants. It would take hours before that blaze was finally quelled, revealing the charred devastation inside, as firefighters would find the remains of 56-year-old Christina Rirak and 59-year-old Andrew Rirak within the home's garage.
What the fuck?
The cause of this fire was initially unknown, but quickly the situation was deemed suspicious when experts determined that the fire had started as a result of some sort of explosion that had happened within the garage where the couple's bodies were found.
What the fuck?
This was later confirmed by security footage obtained from a neighbor who lived across the street, capturing the moments when it suddenly ignited around 5:27 a.m. There was clearly something off with this case, and things only became more sinister following the autopsies of Andrew and Christina, which revealed that they hadn't actually died in that fire, and instead, both of them had been stabbed to death, with Andrew also being badly beaten.
Yo! Badly beaten, stabbed. Whole garage blew the fuck up. Yo! Yo!
This fire wasn't started to kill them. It was started to cover up their murder. And it did a good job of it too, as the scene was now left completely destroyed, with very little evidence being left behind.
Damn!
But there was something else investigators thought to check. That's security footage. The camera had been facing the garage where all of this carnage seemed to have happened, and so they thought maybe if they looked back far enough, it could at the very least show what had led up to this brutal attack.
Yeah.
And so they rewound that footage, going back hours and hours, during all of which the garage had remained perfectly still, until they got all the way back to 6:42 of the day prior, February 16th.
What the fuck happened?
The film showed the moments that the couple had arrived home together inside of Christina's car, which Andrew had been driving that night, as he pulled uneventfully into the garage. This was the last time this couple was seen alive on camera, which on its own is disturbing enough. But as it turns out, there was something far more unsettling about this footage.
What?
As it revealed the fact that Christina and Andrew weren't alone.
What? Because I ain't live on TikTok yet, nigga. That's what niggas miss out on. That's what niggas miss out on. If you ain't tapped in on Twitch, you gotta be tapped in on Twitch. I'll be the first to see this shit first before TikTok. Lock in. Oh shit! Yo! Yo!
The footage.
I didn't even pee! I didn't even pee! I didn't even peep dude at first. I was tripping. Yo!
It showed a tall figure, its features completely shrouded in darkness, almost as if it were a shadow, with this figure lying in wait out of sight on the side of the house, until right after Andrew pulls the car into the garage, when this person slips in behind them. It's impossible to say for sure if the couple noticed this person or not,
No
but it
way.
appears that they likely didn't, as they both start to exit the vehicle, to which the figure then ducks down in an attempt to avoid detection.
What the fuck?
Until the garage door begins to slowly close.
Yo!
Either Christina or Andrew would make it out of that garage.
Whoa, 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 whoa. You ain't look at who's in the passenger seat? They said the girl was in the fucking passenger seat. My nigga, you ain't look at the side view mirror? Yo, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Alive, as just seconds after this footage,
this is crazy.
They both would be brutally murdered by this unidentified person.
Oh,
The footage is terrifying and speaks to that innate fear in most of us, the fear of being followed, of being watched, and attacked in the moments where we least expect it. It's paranoia-inducing, and made even more off-putting by the fact that this clearly seemed to be premeditated. Whoever this was knew their schedule and had been waiting for them to arrive home, in a place where they knew they wouldn't be seen. But by this point, their motivation was as unknown as their identity.
Yeah, he had been camping there the whole
Following the
time.
discovery of this footage, bits and pieces were released to the press in order to get the public's help in identifying this unknown assailant. It represented a rare instance of a killer being clearly caught on camera right before committing a crime, but that's also what made this case so frustrating, as despite the video capturing this person, none of their features were discernible at all.
Damn.
Unsurprisingly, the footage didn't bring in any relevant leads, but it at the very least showed investigators that whoever this person was knew the couple, due to its obvious premeditation. Though when looking into both Andrew and Christina, it was clear that neither of them really had any enemies in their life, with the exception of one. Harrison Brown was a 27-year-old employee at a company called Rogue Transportations, of which Christina happened to be the vice president of operations, and during his time there, Harrison was known to be abrasive and combative, with Christina often having to be the one to reprimand him, leading to Harrison resenting her. It isn't clear how police were tipped off about this strained working relationship, but they had somehow grown suspicious enough of Harrison to pay his home a visit, and what they found inside showed that this resentment he had towards Christina had actually morphed into a twisted obsession.
What the fuck?
Inside, police found satellite images of the Rear-X home, along with the software on the man's computer and cell phone that showed that on the 12th of February, he had secretly attached a tracking device to Christina's car, and he had been tracking her movements for days.
He's been tracking. He had a satellite image of the fucking crib. He had a satellite image of the fucking crib. Yo,
Which is precisely how he knew when she would be arriving home. And as if this revelation wasn't damning enough, he would also find a broken knife in his garage that contained trace amounts of Christina's blood. It was obvious what Harrison had done, and when confronted with this evidence, there was nothing more he could say other than the truth. So he admitted he had grown a hatred for Christina because of the way that she had treated him at work, and he decided that he needed to get his revenge. That's when he purchased this tracking device and began obsessing over her movements, studying them before finding the perfect time and place to strike. And on February 16th, he waited outside the Rear-X home and snuck into their garage before attacking and killing them both. After the assault, Harrison would leave the home, where he began to grow paranoid about being caught, and so he returned to the house the very next morning to start that fire, with the hopes being that the blaze would cover up his tracks. Though thankfully, this didn't work, and after pleading guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of arson, Harrison Brown would be sentenced to life in prison.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he got life in prison. Oh, wow. Yeah, he needed to stay in them jails, bro. He needed to sit in jail, bro. Next story. Officer Feaster dash cam. What the fuck? Who dash cam footage is this?
It's the eve of Thanksgiving, 2015. Police officer Patrick Feaster sits in his cruiser parked alongside the road in the town of Paradise, California, waiting.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie, that double chin is crazy. I know he was sweating. I know, like, you could just tell based off his demeanor, you could tell that nigga was sweating crazy in that pic. He was sweating crazy in the pic.
It's the eve of Thanksgiving, 2015.
Oh shit, yo, you know he's sweating crazy. Yo, damn, double chin crazy. I know his collar is choking him right now. His collar is choking him right now. Yo, that is crazy, bro.
Officer Patrick Feaster sits in his cruiser parked alongside the road in the town of Paradise, California, waiting for his first action of this uncharacteristically quiet night. His car was facing the direction of a well-known local cantina, which patrons were known to drive away from under the influence. And sure enough, as the clock approached midnight, the calmness around Feaster would be shattered by the sight of a car speeding out of the restaurant's parking lot.
Oh shit, what? Okay.
The car went unseen by Feaster's dashcam, but not by Feaster himself, as he took off, doing his best to catch up with the car that was now speeding down the road. And within a few seconds, he does. As the car slowly comes into frame for the first time. Inside that vehicle was 26-year-old Andrew Thomas and his ex-wife, 23-year-old Darian Aaron. Andrew had been drinking heavily that night and was well over the legal limit, with his driving showing as much as he failed to pull over once Feaster approached him, resulting in a police chase that would only end up lasting just a few seconds.
What the fuck? Why only a few seconds? What happened? Oh! Damn!
Just east of...
Damn! Oh, shit! Damn! Wait, what?
Slowly comes into frame for the first time. Inside that vehicle was 26-year-old Andrew Thomas and his ex-wife, 23-year-old Darian Aaron. Andrew had been drinking heavily that night and was well over the legal limit, with his driving showing as much as he failed to pull over once Feaster approached him, resulting in a police chase that would only end up lasting just a few seconds.
Damn! That crash is crazy, bro. Yo, nah, bro. Damn! He flipped!
As Andrew would drive his car directly into a median, causing the SUV to flip over violently before coming to a halt on its side.
Damn!
In that instant, Darian was ejected from the vehicle, being thrown straight through the windshield and landing on...
Listen! Oh, she got thrown out the windshield? She got thrown out the windshield?
Drive his car directly into a median, causing the SUV to flip over violently before coming to a halt on its side. In that instant, Darian was ejected from the vehicle, being thrown straight through the windshield and landing onto the asphalt, where, despite still being alive, her injuries were likely unsurvivable. But Andrew, on the other hand, was still inside the vehicle, and he seemed to have been left relatively unharmed. As perhaps being boosted by adrenaline, he quickly tried to crawl his way out of the car in a desperate attempt to check on Darian, with Officer Feaster's dashcam capturing the entire ordeal. Though just as Andrew attempted to do so, we see Feaster step into the frame, where he suddenly draws his gun, and without saying a single word, fires 2 shots at Andrew. With
Damn, what? Fires to... Yo, this nigga starts shooting. Yo, this nigga wildin'. Yo, he literally just, he just, yo.
with one of the bullets appearing to strike him, causing his body to go limp as he falls back into the car.
Damn!
It happened in a literal instant, so fast that it's clear Feaster had most likely accidentally discharged his weapon, as there was no attempt at communication before the shot was fired, with Andrew clearly posing no risk to him, as both of his hands were being used to hoist himself up. From the footage, this all seems to be a horrible accident, and one that Feaster seemed to recognize right away, as he rushed up to the car, pointing his flashlight at the man that he had just shot, staring at him for over 10 seconds, trying to make sense of what he had just done, before he finally snaps out of it, and uses his radio to call for backup. Though this is when this already dark video starts to become much more disturbing.
What happened?
I've got an unresponsive female. I got a male in the car refusing to get out.
When Feaster makes this call, he never mentions the shooting, and instead he states that the driver was refusing to get out of the vehicle. This is then followed by Feaster walking away from the man and pointing his flashlight to the ground, almost as if he was looking for something.
Copy. Give your cross on Black Olive.
Wait.
Pearson.
Copy. Black Olive and Pearson.
He's looking for the
With
bullet
some
casings.
theorizing that he was looking
He's looking for the bullet casings. Watch. Watch. He's looking for his bullet casings.
for his shell casings.
Told you.
Though right then, another officer arrives on the scene and begins to survey the wreckage.
Just her?
No, there's a male in the car refusing to get out.
Where, again, Feaster says that Andrew was refusing to get out of the car, making no mention of the fact that he had just shot
this
him.
nigga.
It's clear at this point what Feaster was trying to do. He was trying to cover up his accident, but this suddenly became more difficult when Andrew started to speak.
Okay, they got one. He's refusing to get out. Get out of the car, sir. You're not shot, sir. Get out of the car.
You're not shot. Get out of the car.
Andrew Thomas was still alive and had muttered to Feaster that he had been shot, but even to his face, Feaster denies it. Shortly after, Andrew then tries to tell the other cop what had happened.
Sir, you need to come out of the car. This car is still on and I don't want you to get hurt.
Right up here.
What do you think you got shot?
Yeah, I was right there. I saw it.
He's looking for the casings.
Who shot you?
This is a perfect example why certain cops don't need to be cops, bro. All these niggas are crazy, bro. This is why some cops don't need to be cops, bro. Facts. This is crazy.
The cop did not shoot you.
But understandably, this other cop wasn't believing him, as surely Feaster would have said something at this point. And so, the minutes start to pass. And after 5 full minutes, Feaster continues processing the scene like nothing had happened, with the other officer being left to theorize that Andrew must have been seriously injured and was likely in a state of shock, which is why he was making all of these strange claims about being shot.
He may be hurt in there. Yeah, I know he is. He's in shock at the very least.
From here, the footage cuts, and we're only left with the audio from that same officer's body cam, as he attempts to get more information from Andrew.
Sir, I need you to talk to me so I know you're okay. Sir, take a look at me. Did you bump your head?
But by this point, he had gone completely silent.
I don't know if he's serious or not.
10 minutes later, the footage then cuts back on, this time to another officer's body cam, which shows that an ambulance had now finally arrived on the scene, with medics first directing their attention to Darian, who was in the worst shape, as she would tragically be pronounced dead shortly after. But despite all of these first responders on the scene, none of them had any idea that the man inside that vehicle had just been shot, and shot by one of their colleagues. And in these moments, Andrew was slowly losing his life as each minute passed. It would take 11 full minutes before Feaster finally confessed.
Sir, you hold this scene, Manny, with me. We're going over to the canteen to find out if this guy...
I wasn't even pointing at him.
Saying that he might
I wasn't even pointing at him, nigga. Are you crazy? What?
Over to the canteen to find out if this guy...
And then he admits it 11 full minutes later, bro. You know, yo, this is why cops don't need to be. Some cops don't need to be cops, bro. Some cops don't need to be cops, bro. These niggas wildin'. They shoot first, ask later shit, bro. They on some crazy shit.
saying that he might have shot the man, but he wasn't sure. And immediately after saying this,
Oh my God, are you serious?
the recording is stopped and the footage comes to an end. Sure enough, in that moment, Officer Patrick Feaster had in fact shot Andrew Thomas, with a bullet striking him directly in the neck. And the reason why he wasn't getting out of his vehicle was because that gunshot had left him fully paralyzed from the neck down. His condition
Shit.
was awful, and made worse by the length of time that it took for him to receive proper treatment. And despite fighting for weeks, Andrew Thomas would lose his life less than 1 month later due to that gunshot wound. Afterward,
Bro, I'm sorry for pausing. My fault for pausing, team. My fault for pausing so much. But bro, he got shot in the neck to where he got paralyzed from the neck down. All it takes is one shot, bro.
Feaster admitted that he did fire his gun, but claimed that in the moment he wasn't actually sure if he had hit Andrew. But many found this hard to believe,
Why
as
you
his gun
pointing-
clearly goes off while he's pointing it at Andrew, and he clearly gets a good view of him immediately after the fact. Not to mention the fact that Andrew literally told him over and over again that he was shot. But for many, by far the most incriminating moment was when Feaster appeared to be looking for his shell casings. And because of his actions, Officer Patrick Feaster would be found guilty of manslaughter and receive a prison sentence of 180
Damn!
days.
What? 180 days? Oh, nah, system crazy. I thought it was gonna be 180 years. They give him 180 days? That's
A decision that was
crazy.
heavily contested but ultimately upheld.
Okay.
And while no one is defending Andrew Thomas's decision to drink and drive that night, Feaster's use of deadly force and his blatant attempt at covering it up make this footage harrowing nonetheless.
He said there are many who believe that Officer Feaster intentionally shot Andrew that day. It's difficult to explore this theory without being able to show the full footage. So I recommend looking up the case for yourself and drawing your own conclusion. Bro, what conclusion, nigga? It's clear as day. This nigga, bro. We get it. Andrew, the driver should never drink and drive. That's bad, bro. That's bad. You should never drink and drive. Drink and drive is horrible. It can have you and stuff like this. But bro, you intentionally came out your car. You came out the cop car. Automatically hand on the gun. Hand on your gun. You like what? He drunk. He was drinking and driving. You know about that bar. You know about the restaurant. What is there more to, bro? You know that what's it called? That restaurant always had people leaving drunk and all that. So what? There's no conclusion. It's clear as day. This shit was intentional, my nigga. And then you looking for your shell casings. Now, if you would have said, yeah, I shot him when other police officers came, if you just said, yeah, I shot him and all that, and wouldn't be looking for your shell casings, my nigga, yeah, bro, it would have been different. But bro, like, and then you lied. So what? Make it make sense, bro. Shit crazy.
I do this for real, bro. I don't got no problem with giving back, man. I'm the only one out here with a show that's actually giving back, you feel me? And I got
Young QC gives back. What the
It's
heck?
May 2013. 23-year-old Quamaine Wilson arrives at his local bank in Chicago, Illinois, to deposit $20,000 cash, which he planned on giving out to groups of his most adoring fans.
Man, about to go get this $1,000 out for the fans, man. Really, I'm gonna take out $20,000, man. Just to show people, you feel me? I'm on a whole different level with this.
To this point, Quamaine had carved out a respectable following on his YouTube channel, where he acted in a series called The Nick Story.
One more word out your mouth, and that's your last. It's your life. I'm gonna take it myself and put it in my graveyard with the rest of them.
Along with posting music he made under the name Young QC.
What the hell?
Based on his viewership alone, his success was apparent, and he wasn't shy about showing off the wealth that he claimed to have accrued as a result of it, posting photos and videos of himself flaunting large amounts of cash across his social media pages. But this video was by far his most boastful yet, as he would take that $20,000 and throw it into the air for all of his fans to fight over.
Damn. Yo, he wildin'.
With Quamaine clearly relishing in the opportunity to show off his riches, despite the fact that behind the scenes, things weren't quite as they seemed.
What happened?
The truth was, Quamaine had actually earned very little from his channel despite its viewership, with this being on account of his videos containing copywritten music, and the fact that he only had a dozen or so uploads. In fact, his social media flexing had started well before he even made his first video, as in reality, all of this money was coming straight from his mother, Yolanda Holmes.
What?
Having started a successful business in Chicago, Yolanda made a great living for herself and Quamaine. And being her only son, Quamaine was given just about anything he could have asked for. She would buy him designer clothes, jewelry, and even the Mustang seen in this video.
Damn.
But for Quamaine, it never seemed to be enough. He wanted to achieve a life of fame and riches, and he used his mother's finances to sell the illusion that he already had, asking her again and again to purchase him things that could help him sell this dream, until one day, it all came crashing down when Yolanda would tragically lose her life.
Damn,
Just
what?
like that, Quamaine's entire support system had fallen out beneath his feet, leaving him without his mother and without the provider who was funding his entire life. But strangely, this didn't seem to stop his lavish online presence. In fact, his spending only seemed to increase after this, as this footage of him giving away money to fans actually took place after the death of his mother, which became extremely off-putting for law enforcement, as Yolanda hadn't simply passed away, and instead, she had been brutally murdered.
What?
Quamaine had learned something shortly before Yolanda's passing, that not only were his mother's savings entirely willed to him, but she had also taken out 2 life insurance policies, in which he was the sole beneficiary. And despite Yolanda giving him anything that he could have asked for, it seemed that by this point, Quamaine had simply grown tired of having to ask. And so, on September 2nd, 2012, he would offer his friend Eugene Spencer $3,500 to kill his own mother. Eugene accepted the offer, and that night,
Yo, what the hell? 3,500? Damn, 3,500 though? 3,500, it wasn't like, what? 3,500, bro? Hell nah, bro.
he would travel to the apartment of Yolanda Holmes late at night, where he entered her room and shot her multiple times as she slept.
Damn.
At the time, her boyfriend had been sleeping next to her, and despite jumping up and doing his best to fight off the attacker, Eugene would eventually beat him unconscious before fleeing the scene.
Damn.
Eugene would call Quamaine immediately after the attack to tell him that the job was done, but rather than feeling any sort of guilt, Quamaine instead had no emotion, and he simply stated, "Make sure the bitch is dead."
Yo.
And so, Eugene went back up to that unit, this time brandishing a knife, and repeatedly stabbed Yolanda until he was absolutely certain she was gone. And with that, Quamaine Holmes was a rich man, and it only cost him the life of his own mother.
Yo.
For a moment, the crime had worked perfectly. The police were left with no concrete leads as to who might have killed Yolanda, and the public largely believed that it was her boyfriend, whom Eugene had knocked unconscious. But no one even thought to look at Quamaine. And recognizing that he was in the clear, his behavior grew brazen almost immediately.
Quamaine Wilson lost his mother to gun violence on November 14th.
My mother, she was a neighborhood woman. A guy entered her home, and murdered her, just to steal.
As he went on TV to talk about his mother's murder, where he peddled the theory to the public that this was some sort of botched robbery, all the while he showed no emotion. He wouldn't even wait a full week before depositing the money, as he took out $90,000 within just the first few days, and immediately began showing it off to his followers. And in this footage where he gave away that $20,000, throwing it into the air as if it meant nothing to him, every cent of that had come from the death of his own mother, a death in which he was entirely responsible for.
That's crazy.
It would take over a full year for Quamaine and Eugene to be caught, with police largely being tipped off by his online antics. And in the end, Eugene was given a 100-year prison sentence.
My nigga, yo. If I got sentenced 100 years, I did the job, you coming down with me, gang? What the fuck? If the judge told me I'm getting 100 years, nigga, you coming with me, nigga, fuck that money, nigga, what? What? Nah, bro, no, I'm not gonna lie, he threw his mans in the dirt, though.
While Quamaine received 99 years.
Oh, shit, damn.
With
99?
his legacy now permanently defined by his creation of one of YouTube's darkest videos.
Damn. Yo, that's the end of the video, man. Yo, if y'all fuck with the content, we're on the road to 100 subs, you know what I'm saying? Yo, I appreciate every single one of y'all niggas, man, you know what I'm saying? Yo, if y'all fuck with the content, y'all fuck with this shit, you know what I'm saying? This is all from a live reaction. Y'all fuck with more content like this, follow my Twitch at twitch.tv/JXMPMEECH, man, you know what I'm saying? Hey, man, I'll catch y'all in the next one.